Oxfordshire is set to become the first place in the country to ban smoking outdoors as lockdown ends. The move, which will see smoking outside bars and restaurants and offices banned, is part of the county's plan to go completely smoke-free by 2025. It'll also see spaces created where people feel, now these are the words, empowered not to smoke. So, should the whole country go in the same direction? I mean, you might even say, Jane, it's time to just ban smoking for good, if we're going to go that far. What do you think?
Well, it sounds like that's what they want to do, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, whilst it's legal, it's an adult choice to smoke. I don't particularly have any issue with people that smoke outside. It's never bothered me. I don't really kind of get the whole... I mean, where do they go now? If they can't smoke, if they're having dinner with people inside the restaurant and they go outside for where can they go now? Have they got to go and stand across the street? I don't really
Well, I think
understand.
part of the issue, isn't it, because of COVID and so many people who are eating and drinking outside and it's all spilling out into pavement cafes.
But they can now go indoors, can't they, the people who don't smoke? Yeah,
but there's more people going to want to be outdoors, so do you want them to be smoking in those spaces?
Well, I guess you could have a designate. I don't know, I mean, listen, it's a choice, isn't it? But I think you're right. It's just like, well, if you don't want people to smoke, and, you know, as Chris Whitty says, our Chief Medical Officer, he said it's actually tobacco causes more harm than COVID, then maybe it's time for them to start big initiatives to actually stop selling cigarettes and move people who maybe are still addicted over to other products like vaping, for example, which aren't as harmful.
Yeah, but we don't know that vaping's not harmful because it's at still early stages of that. But
it's less. What we do know is it's less harmful than tobacco.
Yeah, but people like my mum who had dementia, like, and she was in a care home, like, we'd go to visit her and my sisters would say, don't take her out for a cigarette. And my mum was really frail then and she didn't have long to live. And I used to say, Mum, what do you want to do? She'd take me outside. So I'd wheel her outside and she'd have a cigarette and I'd say to her, how was that, Mum? She'd go, oh, it was wonderful. So it was the last little pleasure that she had. And I don't believe that out in the open people should be allowed to smoke, because I know when I started smoking again, out in the open, like, I'd have a cigarette and people would walk past and go... Yeah. And I'm against anyone smoking when there's children around, and I helped to change the law, like, with the British Lung Foundation to stop, like, people smoking with children in the car and that. But in open spaces, I don't see there's a problem.
No. Yeah, I mean, like, children's play, as you say, children's play areas, perhaps, yes, school gates, maybe, I don't know, inside the school gates. But, yeah, I mean, a pub...
I think what they're trying to do, though, is reduce visibility. They don't want it to look like a fun thing to do. And if you do start to see more and more people... Because I think, actually, the number of young people had decreased quite seriously and is now beginning to tick up again. And I just don't think they want to have that association between
when it was banned...
smoking and fun. Were you not in an anti-smoking advert at one point?
Years ago, yeah, a long time ago. I think it was the first anti-smoking advert that they did.
Oh.
And it probably did after smoking that many cigarettes that day.
Because when they banned smoking indoors, the amount of people giving up smoking did go up. So I suppose that's what they're thinking. If they then ban it socially outdoors as well, that'll also have...
I mean, I've never smoked, so, I mean, I just don't understand the kind of addictive quality of it.
It's so addictive.
Yeah?
It's so addictive. Smoking
it's one of the hardest things to give up.
Yeah, it's so addictive. I mean, I remember being like a sort of secret smoker for sort of on and off for years. And when my kids were little, I was always sort of putting the bins out because, you know, we're going out to sort of have a quick fag. But I remember I lost my confidence because it was so antisocial and I was constantly trying to sort of smell better and hiding all the time. And I don't know, I'd hate for my kids to experience
But that's interesting that you say that, you know, you lost your confidence because, of course, when smoking was originally sort of marketed, it was all about the Marlboro Man, wasn't it, and giving confidence. But then when you see that ad that you did that goes on about, you know, well, your breath reeks, etc., etc., that kind of filtered through to you, whatever generation you were.
And it actually does make you more anxious. You have your cigarette and it makes you feel great, and then you go down, and then you have your fag and it feels great, and then you go down. But you gradually go down and down and down. So in the end, you're much more of an anxious person than you would be if you didn't smoke.
They should do more of that kind of advertising towards young people, I think, because when you're young, you think you're invincible. You don't think about that you're going to die of, you know, lung cancer or whatever. And actually to say to young, well, actually, you just stink, I think actually has more of an impact. impact.
And it's true, you do stink.
Yeah, you do.
Because when I packed up smoking, I'd walk along and I'd go, oh, she smokes or he smokes. You
Yeah.
can smell it on their clothes straight away, can't you?
Yeah, I think there was an ad around that time that the girl was kind of wafting about and her perfume was ashtray. I don't know if you remember that one. That's the one that stuck
That was
with
probably
me.
Linda as well.
Yeah, probably. You were busy back in the day, weren't you,
I was,
Linda?
yeah.
Not that she remembers any of it. Nothing, nothing.